we would need more. I mean, definitely it is
Okay.
not adequate to answer your question. We need to be sustainable, okay? And then we
Right.
need long-term partnership. Okay, whatever you can put, if you've committed that, do that.
Mm.
Otherwise, you know, it's
Okay.
it's waste of everybody's time, and then it becomes again a repetition of cycle again. So you got to put your
Right.
heart and soul and passion towards that. Are you ready? Then it will grow. I'm sure it's just a question of making a start.
Hey guys, welcome to Better Engineering and Management podcast. Today we have Mr. Ramchandran joining us. Ramchandran, that is Ram, works as CTO at an organization called Association of People with Disabilities, also known as APD. Ram works closely on strategy, use of technology, and how to make lives of people better, people who have some kind of disabilities, right? Ram, please welcome to the podcast and please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Pradeep, for this nice introduction. Yeah, as Pradeep said, my name is Ramachandran RS. I go by Ram. Yeah, I been in the corporate industry IT for the last 4 decades, and I retired from corporate, and now I'm part of an NGO. That's something I wanted to do post retirement. I've been in IT all along in the application side, and of course worked abroad also in India, also various organizations. So it's been a very a long journey for me. Now I am ended up with something which I really wanted to do from my heart as a passion. So I am here with APD, doing the technology initiatives, taking care that that comes to of help to the PWT community. So that's my brief introduction.
So Ram, what kind of work exactly does APD do, and what role do you play in this NGO?
Yeah. So APD, as it's a very old organization, 66 years now in reckoning, and it started by one lady, one single lady in 1959, and it has grown in size and stature. What APD does is, I mean, it does human services to the PWT community, the people with disabilities. And in APD, we take care of around 21 disabilities, and most importantly, APD follows a approach called life cycle LCA we call it, where starting from education, health, and their livelihood to social empowerment is what is the aim and the vision, where we say leave no one behind. So that's a kind of a goal and a vision APD has towards the people with disability, and there's a lot to do, but then we are slowly doing, across India, of course majority in Karnataka, but yes, growing in other parts of India also, so that as much as PWD are covered and taken care, starting from early intervention onwards to whatever disabilities they might have. So that's the kind of service we are in, to making sure every disabled person is somehow covered and taken care. Yeah, that's a kind of service we are APD is into and continues to do that.
And you work in the digital technology side of
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah, to answer your second part of the question, I recently joined APD, but I take care of the technology. I kind of formulate along with other executive management and the board the strategy which I've done, and then to make sure that all the necessary and required technology interventions are done, leveraged, and it is reached to that our goal of reaching to the beneficiary community, what we call the PWT community, so that all the programs which are in place take care of those technology initiatives. So my job is to ensure that that happens, doesn't stop, and then it is in a sustained manner, it continues, and then keep giving them all the latest technology intervention all the way up to AI and etc., so that they are not left behind, and we become some kind of a APD has become some kind of a flag bearer or a forefront of technology in making the outreach better and effective and very efficient also. So that's the kind of role I am being given to play, and I make sure that I do that along with my team.
It's just very impressive, particularly I think the what you mentioned, right, where you do complete life cycle management of people with disabilities, I think, in the
Yes.
PWD, right?
That's
where
right.
you are not just giving them kind of help with regard to disabilities, but you also kind of empowering them socially so that when they grow in society, they remain well connected, well supported, and as you also mentioned, with regard to their career journey, right? By
Yes.
kind of training them with all the means of livelihood they need, and not just to live, but to live happily,
Oh
right?
yes,
That's the idea, I believe.
that's a very good. That's the idea, and then making sure that not only job, even putting them back into the job from where they came, because some disabilities happen in between in their life. Okay, it's not they are
Right,
born with it.
right.
So that time also we don't want them to be left, to making sure that we connect with all those organizations and they happily take them to their ability, whatever they can give them, or setting
Right.
up some business for them. Those kind of those kind of thing, and then making sure that they are acceptable, and then they feel very confident first and foremost. That's why we don't, I mean, making them sure that they don't shy away from coming in the mainstream. Okay, so that's the service we really focus on, and making sure they feel confident while taking these services.
That's very admirable and kind of and people who are watching this will understand what APD does.
Yeah,
So, Ram, my next question is, in the last decade, right,
yeah,
particularly with the advent of AI and automation,
yeah.
how much adoption of those technologies have you witnessed? Is it kind of related its potential or not?
See, it's a very good question. See, I have see from my point of view, and then generally others will also echo this. We have seen significant growth in technology adoption among NGOs. Okay, particularly in the last 5 years, I would say. Okay, and many organizations, they are now leveraging digital platforms, social media, data analytics, and to mainly to enhance their outreach, and also to enhance their fundraising initiatives, efforts, so that more and more, because technology reaches fast rather than you the traditional method. So people, I mean, NGOs are coming, but according to me, there is still a long way to go, Pradeep. Especially among the smaller NGOs and those who are focused more on the rural areas. Okay, so that they also start adopting. So that is the kind of a reach I would envision, or I'll be happy to see that NGOs take, like any other non-NGO profit organizations. Okay, so
Right.
yes, it is there for the taking, and people have NGOs have started adopting it, and there are people supporting that also. So we in APD are now not lagging behind in that.
So basically, what you're saying is APD is kind of front bearer in this race where we are trying to use AI and all other latest technology to help people, but there
Yeah.
are still challenges here. And
So there are,
I would
yes.
like to go deeper into it. Bit like, what are the major factors which prevent these technologies from being used at full potential in these NGOs for the people who need it the most, probably, right? So, so what do you
That's what
think?
we
What are the
said.
major factors?
Yeah, no, I
Mhm.
can tell you
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's what I was saying. There are a lot to be done, but it's few factors. I mean, there are few major factors. One is,
Mm.
I mean, after I've joined, I've even figured out, I've seen it, and you've been thinking like that, is the limited digital literacy among the NGO staff and beneficiaries. Auxiliary
Okay.
beneficiaries. See, I and you probably will know, because we use technology as a means now. Okay, so others who haven't,
Right.
so the literacy of that, the awareness of it is lacking. Number two,
Mhm.
insufficient infrastructure. For example, in rural areas, I said the internet connectivity is not that much prevalent. Okay, so what would
Okay.
happen is it will put them off, and then they don't use it. Okay, so that's
Right.
that's something government has to ensure. We have to ensure. And the third
Hmm.
and part is the funding which is coming, right? The funding which comes
Okay.
from donors. Primarily,
Hmm.
what happens is the NGOs are focused on certain services, be it education, be it healthcare, or be it farmer or agriculture,
Hmm.
be it disability.
Right.
So the
Right.
funding comes for that program. Okay, making sure. So what happens is the technology related funding or the amount to be allocated takes a little bit
Hmm.
backseat. So it's not,
Right.
according to me, adequate. Okay, to make sure that
Right.
the amount of technology leverage we need to have hand in hand, uh, it's insufficient, I should say. And one more thing, unlike corporate other world, the technology solutions towards NGO specific are very less. I mean, it's not that adequate or available at in a large scale. More towards user friendly solutions. I mean, somebody will try to put some normal solution, but they should see that that is helping the people like this with disabilities or not. So that user friendliness kind of a solution is currently not available in large numbers. Okay, so it's very limited access to that. And then one more final point is the data security and some privacy concerns are there. Okay, because these are all certain sensitive subject, right? Sensitive. So we
Correct,
need to
correct,
make sure that we don't. I mean, when it comes to there are people who are shy of talking about that. So we need to make sure that as an organization we don't cross that boundary and those. So data privacy concerns are there. So these kind of what do you call bottlenecks are there, which needs to be taken care so that we move forward. And then otherwise challenges like quick I mean internal discipline of using, because they've never used in the past. Okay,
correct,
so
correct.
so what happens is there is a slow growth of adopting within internally. I'm talking normal people who work towards the beneficiaries. They have never used anything in advanced level. Okay, they have been
Right.
accustomed to manual, and so that is another area we need to tackle.
So that will prevent the beneficiaries from using, let's say, some app if you want to kind of take some benefit of certain provisions or certain services. And then there is also funding issue, because the expectation from an NGO is when you go to ask for funding, right, that they will be asking for funding for education or some healthcare services. So people kind of don't expect you to come and ask funding for, you know, investing in technology, right? So it's a mindset change also that is required here, because without latest technologies, you will not be able to reach the maximum number of people, right, beneficiaries. So people who are funding should keep in mind that they should fund for education, let's say they should fund for health services, but they should also fund for enabling more and more technology, enabling the NGOs with technology, because that will increase their capacity to reach higher number of people. Okay,
That's correct.
and as you mentioned again, after funding, and then there is also this people who come from, let's say, rural background, they don't really know how to use a lot of things. They know how to use manuals, but they don't know how to use technology and technological
Yes.
services.
Yes.
Using simple apps can be difficult for them, right? Because
Yes.
they are not
Very much.
very literate, and that is also, I think, main areas where we work, right? So most of the beneficiaries really coming from that area, which is not something I can think of any easy solution. But I think the only thing you can do is to keep you be behind it, and then something
Yeah.
slowly, maybe
Yeah. Because
Okay, this is a very interesting.
yeah,
Go ahead, sorry.
for assisting for particularly in our case, the APD, which deals with
Mm,
PWDs, right, person with disabilities.
right,
Unlike education and others where it is not, it is important that we provide the assistive technology towards that. Okay, assist if it doesn't assist. If I'm giving a laptop or a keyboard and there is no braille in it, how is a person with vision impairment will do if there is no
correct,
so if the assistive technology comes part and parcel of overall technology solutions. And when it
right,
goes to funding, way we present it, if you separate two things, like I want fund for my program and I want fund from technology, then it's going to be a problem. Technology is
right,
interwoven within the programs. Then it's
right,
important.
right,
There
right,
is no choice now. I mean, according to me. So you got to say that I need X amount. That X amount includes A, B, C, D, and then D probably becomes the technology part. Then you take the
right.
fund. Okay. So that's
Understood,
how it should
understood.
be seen.
I think point taken, and you cannot deny the fact that technology does come at a cost. It doesn't come for free,
No.
because right, because you have to kind of invest into, let's say, cloud infrastructure or whatever, right? Installing those software, and then there will be licenses, and
Yes.
sometimes you may get some kind of discount because you are an NGO, but oftentimes if it's an international software, you will not go to discount. So there are a lot of challenges there. And so Ram, tell me one thing. Like, let's say you want to develop something, techy, something high tech service. How much access do you have to talent, that is qualified people who can work on that technology? Like, how difficult is it, and how much access do you have to good talent?
Okay. I'll answer in two parts. See, we do have a very growing, network of tech savvy, volunteer. I should say volunteers. who have tremendous amount of technology talent. Okay, and we also have access to partners. Okay, tech partners who are sold on all this part of their CSR initiative, or sold on helping NGOs. Okay, and when it comes to APD, we have been fortunate enough to have good partners. Okay, with respect to coming forward. So talent wise, we do have access. We have our own in-house talent acquisition team, which goes and takes that. But what I would say is that while there is an availability in terms of partners and volunteers, or even people who come for paid services in technology talent, um, we often find challenges in specific areas. Okay, in specific areas, when I say specific areas, for example, AI is something in strategy we have put to be done, but how much AI is
Right.
otherwise also available? So for
Right.
normal organization itself, they are struggling. So that's one area. Second is cyber security. Okay, or when it comes to cloud adoption, so certain specific technology, normal technology like programming and all is not an issue. But I would couple this with one more challenge. While the specific areas and niche areas are the emerging technology area, we do find challenge. We definitely find challenge. The second challenge, if at all I find also, for either kind of skill, normal or a specialized skill, people who are experienced, our reluctance to join an NGO. Okay, so that is
Right.
something,
Right.
or they join and then quickly leave. Okay, so the employee turnover ratio is very high. So how many? See, for me, I'm a retired person. I have nothing else, no career. I'm coming. So many of my senior people in our organization are like that. But we cannot run everything through people who are retired, and so we need the arms and the legs and the eyes, the soldiers. So that at least I'm also seeing others also been telling that in the past also. So the moment it is NGO, because it involves rural, it involves working with some special, so they don't come forward because they already have something else in their pocket, and then they probably, so that challenge is there. We need to see how well we tackle that. That is something being
Like that is
strategized.
the eternal challenge with every NGO, wherein basically what is happening is all the talented people, right? They would want more money, the right
Yeah,
reasons, of course,
yeah,
and probably they would want a career, right? And if they are young, though they have high energy and all,
yeah,
they even if they join NGOs, I think what happens many times is they join half-heartedly, or they join in a situation where they have to focus on some other main work, that is they're working inside a company, and then as a part-time they work with these NGOs, where what happens oftentimes is, since you are not completely focused, the even with that limited time, right, the productivity is not that much. And then, as you mentioned, there is this problem of attrition, right, because they may be working in an NGO and they suddenly they will get a very good offer, let's say from an MNC, and they would quit and join that, right? So retaining talent is a big problem because there is a shortage of funding, obviously,
yeah. Absolutely, and you are well said. See,
and
I'll tell you one thing. To come and join an NGO, I mean, first question I put it on interview also. Do you know where you are where have you applied? I mean, this is an NGO, and this
right,
is not your run of the mill, I mean, daily, your nine
right,
to five kind of a corporate life. I mean, there are no frills, but then you
mhm,
have some focus, because our focus is totally onto a different community, right? So if
right,
everybody
right,
doesn't echoes that and they have their own agenda,
mm,
it's not going to work. So you got to put your
right,
heart and soul and passion towards that. Are you ready? If you
right,
are ready, then these are the limitation, money wise, or career progression
mm,
wise. But if you have,
mm,
there are people who are really happy to do that, how they leave good
mm,
jobs to do their own agriculture or farming, etc. Similarly, there are people who are coming, those kind of people, I salute. I mean, they are there, but not all. So this is something we need to work out.
this is a problem which I don't know. But I think some people have to step up and kind of solve this problem. So let us say someone is in a stage where they don't worry too much about finances, right? And
Yeah,
let's say they have high amount of energy, professionals, and let's say they want to help your organization, right?
yeah,
Or any such organization. How can they kind of how should I say, come forward and help organizations like APD and increase impact?
yeah. See, there are many ways. As I said, first is of
Mm,
course the mindset, that you first prepare
mm,
your mindset that you are going to now help
right.
without any
Mm,
large
returns.
expectations in consideration. Number one.
Right.
But while you have decided that, there are something like, you do volunteering, their expertise in, you come forward, there is a specific project, specific initiative mooted out and announced, come forward, help there. Okay, there are people, they can come and volunteer. Number one. Number two, they can do training and capacity building, the program staff and the beneficiaries themselves, so they can come back and say, they show their expertise in training them, mentoring them, and build the capacity. See, one of the areas we focus is, while we go and attend a PWD child, okay, a child or a person with disability, our job is to make sure that the caregiver, the mother, father, and others are trained. So we build the capability and the capacity that way, so that everything is not dependent on our therapists and our people, always available. So what happens is, you collect some set of people, come and make them go and train this capability, so they can come forward to do training, mentoring, making sure that disabled people are actually using the right way. So, and then, so we are doing it with interns and all, there are coming. And then they can also do some customized solution. As I told you, right, some customized solutions are not available in the market. You pool, the certain set of people can actually sit and understand the requirement, develop it for us, and then for NGOs, and give it. And then during the strategy and implementation, they can be part and parcel of making sure that they come. So this they can do pro bono, they can do with some limited compensation, or they can come forward, say, if there is an opportunity available in APD or any other NGO, take the job and then do it. So there are multiple ways. And then there's one more thing. Certain people I've seen who have written, they have some product developed on IP. They can have a co-share the IP with us. Okay. Like, okay, I have this, I have not used it, but I'm happy to give it a try with NGO. I can start off with it. Okay. So they can share, co-brand. So there are multiple ways technology professionals can come forward and make sure that the NGO does this vision successfully. It's there. Yeah.
That's very interesting, because as you mentioned, right, if you have good amount of time, go and work on some last project with APD or any other NGO. If you have smaller time, then you can invest in training people, right? Training the internal staff of APD to higher technologies, and you can also kind of directly train the beneficiaries. Like, if beneficiaries don't know how to use certain app, like as Mr. Ram mentioned, right? If a parent doesn't know how to train his children with regard to certain apps or certain services, right? You can go and give the training so that they know how to use this, because APD works in all the areas, whether it's audio, whether it's limited hearing disabilities or speaking disabilities, and there are many things. And if you are a professional who has some kind of experience in these areas and you are good at it, why not go and train those people? That if one person trains 50 people, 50 people train another 50 people, right? Then there is a chain of kind of
Absolutely.
that is what is required in an NGO, right?
Absolutely. We have developed one app called S2 Access, okay, and then that app is successful now. Now that app requires only volunteers. Make sure that the beneficiary community, the PWD community, the person with disability community knows which area is a Government of India initiative also, whether this place is accessible or not, if accessible, how it is accessible, what kind of a ramp facility, what kind of wheelchair. So this is an audit, and this is a volunteer service. People can come and then make sure that the app, they download the app in their mobile and then do it. That's a technology person will know how to quickly navigate through the app and put the report, take a picture, and send it to a beneficiary, and then tell him that this is. So there are multiple ways. So S2 Access app is one thing where we are expecting a lot of traction from technology and non-technology people also to coming forward.
So that's also a very good idea, because you see, a lot of professionals are also very good at designing, right? Let's say you are designing an app in a way that all the people can use it without getting worried and without getting scared of the app. Because if someone who is not very good at design, he creates the app, right? He may do it in a manner which is slightly difficult to use. But if you use your skills and come up with design itself, that itself can be a big boost, right? So as he mentioned, right, they already have an app called Yes to Access, which is used heavily. And but I think what point we're getting is, if you want to work with APD or any such NGO, right, you should have a mindset that this much time I have to dedicate, okay? So that things don't become too haphazard, because you will end up wasting not only your time, but time of the NGO itself. Because if you come and get, let's say, associated with a project, but you don't deliver on it, right? in a way, though people are pretty compassionate and kind, right? But they are always out of resources, right? So you should value not only your time but also the time of the NGO, and you should have this mindset that okay, next 3 months, let's say, on every weekend I will be working with APD or some such kind of arrangement where you should translate your passion into effective delivery. Then it will be impactful, right? So that's I think idea we are getting out of it. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
As I told, I said, first, even for normal, here we do. Are you ready? I mean, see, you cannot have haphazard or half-hearted, when you do service to somebody else, because you are now,
right,
what you are going to do is impacting somebody else. It's not yourself.
right,
In corporate life, you do for yourself, you earn, and if you don't like, you leave. Here, it's not like that. So if you
correct,
start a journey, you end the journey. Okay. So accordingly, put your time. Nobody is demanding. Okay, whatever you can put, if you've committed that, do that.
mm,
Otherwise, it's
okay,
it's it's waste of everybody's time, and then it becomes again a repetition of cycle again, and you
right,
start, and then it
right.
becomes monetarily also. I mean, funding wise also, it's going
It
to
can
be big.
affect the motivation. It can affect your resources, right?
Absolutely,
Or your funding
absolutely,
can be kind of
absolutely.
not very well efficiently used, right? To
Yeah,
do all
yeah,
these
yes,
things. So,
yes, Pradeep. Yeah, yeah.
so Ram, tell me, like, if someone is dedicated, right? He has made up his mind. Where would he find all the list of projects? So, how should he connect? Where should he start, right? Because let's say someone who has worked in the IT industry for 20 years, he doesn't have any idea, right? How NGOs work and how
Yeah.
should he connect and where he will find these small projects where he can contribute, right? So, even if with all his kind of, you know, willingness, where he should start so that he can kind of
See,
be maximum productive.
yeah, correct. See, one is uh,
Mm-hmm.
getting into service post your normal job. You need to
Mm,
start early. You need to start planning
okay,
much early in your life while you are still working. Okay, you are still earning your
okay,
normal thing, so that you prepare. But and then go and look at, and you can select an NGO. NGOs are in plenty now. Okay, there are
okay,
startup NGOs, real NGOs, whether education
mm,
sector, health sector, farming structure, sector, or disability sector. In disability, there are not many. APD is the pioneer, and they are the only one, and then
mm,
there are others as partners. So it is
right,
available. If you keep your eyes and ears open, and then you seek, there are, there are government portals where you can go and register, and you can look at, for volunteering services. And then and now that people are in social media platforms like Instagram and others, you keep getting, I mean, I got in that way only. I mean, I got associated with
okay,
something else called Wisdom Circle, which is basically for retired
mm,
people. And then there they contact all. Oh, they have a list of NGOs they contact, and where people are retired people are being employed again on a contractual basis. That's how I
okay,
came to know about APD. Otherwise, generally APD is not known. But then, what
okay,
exactly in deeper level I got to know, and then it came into a job
mm,
opportunity for me. Okay, so that
right,
is at least my level, because I've already done my job 40 years, and then but people even earlier in their career, there are ways, and you keep looking forward. There are now, government is announcing inclusivity as a very big slogan, right? So
right,
so keep looking at all this, social media ads and social media platforms and portals. You will know a list of NGOs, and then there is an NGO related community already available under some
okay,
ministry. Okay, so
okay,
Ministry of Human Development, you go and see, there are, so every ministry is
mm,
attached with some NGOs, because they report there. So
right,
if you have that desire in you, you will definitely go and seek for it. Once you seek,
I,
and then, and I did for another NGO in Chennai called Bhumi. I never knew, and suddenly and then I started putting more interest towards that. So what happens
okay,
is, you will definitely go. If you seek it, it will come to you. Okay, and then
okay, okay,
then what happens is, within that, there will be program listed, and you see where does
mm,
your skill, talent
right, okay,
meets the program, because every program I don't think you will be able to do. Some will be for you,
sure,
some will be for your friend, somebody else. Now the moment you get in, you spread the word to few of your friends and colleagues and relatives and other people, because they were also looking forward to it. Because the moment when you say NGO, disability, they all come with that human heart
baggage,
towards that.
okay,
Yeah, and then it will grow. I'm sure It's just a question of making a start.
I think that's a very good point, because what will happen is there is a threshold, right? If this much people get associated with these NGOs, right, automatically it will spread like fire. But the threshold is probably still not touched, and many people, the amount of minimum number of people that should start kind of working on these things, right, is probably still not achieved. So that's why things are happening a bit slow. But we should always be positive. There is no reason to be kind of dismissive about these things.
Okay.
There's a lot of talent in India, and people are good-hearted. They will be kind of coming up to it. I'm sure the viewers who are watching this podcast would also kind of connect with you and take interest in it. And so, one last question that I would like to ask Ram, is like, how much support do you are getting from various organizations, let's say in the form of CSR activities or provisions, or from government itself when it comes to funding and all those things? And is that enough?
Fantastic question. Currently, if I have to talk about APD, I'm not sure about others because I can't talk about them. But if I have to talk about APD, we do receive quite a number of support, quite a lot of support as part of the CSR initiatives. CSR budget is there, and then quite a lot of them are IT organization like HCL or Wipro or name it. I mean, they are there by way of pure funding, pure grant. I mean, we have something called the CSR funding and some retail funding. So there are retail, me and you, kind of
Right.
mom and dads and the people, that's separately going on. But the larger chunk, all the way from NRIs and even foreign funding, we have corporates and organizations coming forward in terms of, as I said, pure funding grants, or we of course have a lot of partners. We go and seek partners for whom we do financial support, and then they give services support, or and then there is this people do also in kind also. Okay. And then there are organizations like application when we are developing, say, beneficiary management, another NGO which is very successful, they come forward, they fund. For example, our CRM application is again a funded product. Okay. So by way of forwarding that application to you at very discounted rate, at not even discounted rate, much more, maybe free of cost. And then there are organizations like we are talking to somebody like JP Morgan. They have something, they have a long history of more than, I don't know, 30-40 years now. They are doing this CSR initiative for NGOs. So they call it Force for Good. So they select certain organizations, they go and support them for a specific period by doing some projects for them. Okay. So people, when I say people, organizations are coming forward. But what I would say is that this is very invaluable, this support that we have been getting, but we often find it inadequate. Okay. In terms of why I'll say inadequate, because NGOs also keep growing. Okay, our demands, our program reach, and our program and services, we need to be sustainable. Okay, and then we need long-term partnership, not a 1 year, 2 year, and then we will see. Because certain organizations are driven by their own budgets, and if they don't allocate too much of budget towards CSR, there will be a setback. So, but we can't be taking back, right? Our services will keep growing. Our program and reach out and numbers. Now we want to go pan India. You imagine from Karnataka only, if we want to reach out to nearby states and others, the number of beneficiaries we are going to. So how much funding you would need? So in that term, I would say inadequate. It has to pour more. Government also is definitely. We have a policy advocacy program separately. Government also comes forward. But every government, from state government to central government, if it comes, specifically towards, say, disabled community being a very important part of life and society, then those funding will come forward in terms of, So I would say we are there, but we would need more. I mean, definitely it is not adequate, to answer your question.
Still, the vehicle is moving, but it is not moving at full speed. More petrol is needed, and kind of. To put it bluntly. So there is some funding. There are good people who are funding, and what NGOs, what I know for sure, they are doing it. They are trying to derive maximum out of minimum. Okay, so they already kind of work hard so that they do the most efficient use of money, and I have also known few people who work with NGOs. So they're all the time they're thinking like how to make best use of this money so that it doesn't get wasted, right?
Yes.
But as Mr. Ram correctly said, right, uh, problems are huge. There are many disabled people, and in general also, the problems with which NGOs tackle right daily. They're not small problems that can be kind of managed with a limited amount of money and resources. They try their best, but more is better. Still, the funding that they get is inadequate, that's for sure. Whether it's through CSRs or through any government organization, they should come forward and they, as you mentioned, it will be better if they make long-term commitments rather than short-term commitments, because then it will help them in strategic planning. For example,
Yes.
if they want to go into other cities, right, as Mr. Ram was mentioning, they are making an impact in Karnataka, but let's say they want to go to Maharashtra, they want to go to other rural areas where there is still a lot of help needed. Funding will be required. Funding will be required to travel. Funding will be required to provide food. Funding will be required to kind of lease a property, right? So without money, things cannot happen. That's a fact, and we cannot deny it whether we like it or not, right? And if, as professionals or people who work 9 to 5, if you are not able to do anything else, easiest thing to do is to offer money, a part of your salary, and let the people who are, on the grounds do their best to kind of derive maximum value out of your money for the people who need it the most. Okay. On that note, I would like to kind of thank Mr. Ram to join this discussion. All the best for all the efforts that you guys are making. You guys are doing tremendous work, and I'm sure it will go to greater height. Any last words you want to say, Mr.
Uh,
Ram?
yeah. Thank you so much, first of all, for this opportunity. And through this, I'm happy that I could talk something about APD. Yes, as we discussed a few topics, I would want people, listeners of this podcast, to probably spread the word, to know more about APD. Probably they can reach out to Pradeep also. He may be giving more details. Not just for as an opportunity is available, but then just as their passion to do something in life, in society, and spread the word, so that we, along with your support, are able to grow in stature, size, and reach, and make our PWT community, the people with disability community, happy, and be part of a inclusive society. So, in that note,
Sure.
I just wanted to end up and thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm very glad that I'm able to do some
Thank
response
you,
to
Mr.
your
Ram. Thank you for
suggestion.
joining us. It was great pleasure talking to you, and I can see that in spite of being retired, you are working very hard.
Yes,
And I hope many people take inspiration from you and come forward. Thank
same
you.
here.
Thank you for joining
Thank
the
you.
podcast.
Sure.
Yeah. And to all the viewers, please do subscribe for many such amazing discussions to come. We want to see how technology impacts human life. Otherwise, what is the use of technology anyway, right? So, on that note, please do subscribe and thank you for watching.